I mean, he was the youngest. He won his first world title at 21. Right. Youngest super welterweight champion. Yep. Does that bring a little pressure?
I tell people this all the time, man. I get asked this that all the time. You know, I just feel like I do better under pressure. You know, so put pressure on me. You know, so pressure could either make diamonds or bust pipes.
What's good, Danger No Boxing Talk? It is your boy BC Left Hook here, as always, with my co-host Twine. Twine, what's up? And lucky tonight and blessed to have Cowboy Karl back on the show. How you doing tonight?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. I hope y'all doing good too.
Awesome. Twine, how was your day, bro?
I'm doing good, man. Very well rested, sleeping on the job. So, I'm refreshed.
Well, we was hoping to have you on. You already had your fight, but it was postponed. Have you heard anything about when that it's going to take place?
Yeah, so boxing is funny, as you know. Coach Creed always told me you never know who you're going to fight or when you're going to fight until you're looking at him in the ring. But looks like we're going to fight October 31st at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio with fans. So just waiting.
All right. Twine, I know you said you had a couple questions for him.
All right. Where was the fight originally slated? Because I know this has been a big change as far as being the actual.
Well, originally we were supposed to fight in LA, I think. You know, as far as I knew, it was originally supposed to be in LA. Well, actually, originally it was supposed to be on the Jamal Charlo card, and then it was moved to LA, and with the Gervonta Davis card. But now, I'm still with the Davis card, and they just keep telling me the same thing. As far as what I know is that not to release anything until it was official, and I guess it's official now.
Okay.
I hope so.
Let me follow up on the question just a little bit. Like this will actually be one of the first cards in the U.S. with actual audience allowed, fans in the crowd, and it's going to be in your home state. So, I mean, how does that make you feel now with it, especially being on the pay-per-view platform? Probably one of the biggest cards of this year for this fall with the Gervonta and Leo. How does that make you feel being able to fight on your first pay-per-view card in your home state?
Well, I love it. I love to be in Texas, period. I love the opportunity to be in front of fans. I think that's going to play a big role in the fight, having people there. I'm really excited about it being in San Antonio for my wife and for my kids, for my fans, my mom. My mom wasn't going to be able to actually be inside the bubble because of her job and everything. And so now she's going to be able to be there at the fights and be able to watch me, because she's never missed a fight before, and I don't want her to anyways. And so it means a lot to me. And plus, I get to be on a huge stage, like you said, the Davis Leo card. I mean, it's huge. One of the biggest fights of the year.
I believe it was for the WBA strap. Is it still for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Everything's online for that.
Okay. That's awesome. So that's a chance for you to not only win it in your home, your home state, but in front of your people that wouldn't be able to be there before. So I know that's huge to you. But I'm just glad that you're still getting the opportunity for that world title, because I know you've worked hard for it.
Oh yeah, that's really what it comes down to. If I had the choice for it to be from my home state or in Texas with my fans available to be there, or for the world title, I pick the world title any day. This is what I worked for. This is what I'm coming for. So really, it's just all icing, on the cake. But I'll take it.
How does that affect the fighter's preparation when a fight of that magnitude? Because as you stated, it was already for the strap when you was going to be on the Charlo pay-per-view. To have that delay, how do you stay in the same mindset that you were in going into it, thinking you were going to fight on the 26th?
Yeah, well, it'll upset you. I promise you that. It'll upset you. You know, whenever you're in hardcore camp and you're working hard and you're watching what you eat and everything, and you say, man, I'm only 3 weeks away. I'm killing it. I'm doing great, and all of a sudden, I'm 8 weeks away, or I'm 6 weeks away, and it's just moves after, and then moves twice, and it's like, man, come on, you know, let's just get it going already. And it's frustrating at first. To say the least, it's frustrating at first, but you know, I've been doing boxing for a while, and I've learned that it's always going to be like this. There's a good chance it's always going to be this way, and so my main thing is just to stay focused. That's what my pops tells me. Hey, just stay focused. Ain't no big deal. We got more time to train. We're going to be ready. You know, you're already in top shape, top condition. You're doing everything you should be doing. You're ahead, but I'm also not to the point where I'm going to go over either. I'm still on track to come on point. He knows how to pull me off a little bit and put me back on. And so it really works out well.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, as we had talked before going live, we were talking about the Charlo card, and you said you purchased it. What did you think of that card, man? I thought it was excellent. I thought it was well worth the $75, in my opinion.
Oh, I thought it was a great card. And honestly, I think Jamal was the star of the show for both of them. I think that I think Jamal's fight really stuck out to me and how he handled Derevchenko, and so that's my opinion. You know, I thought Jamal did a very good job. Also, I mean, he beat somebody. He had the 2 belts and he took him. He went out there and it was a crazy stoppage. But I think that Jamal overall, in my opinion, showed in that fight a lot of things, and he showed a lot of things that a lot of fighters don't want to see that are going to have to fight him. And he showed everybody that had any doubts that he's on that level with getting a Triple G fight, getting a Canelo fight. He's as good as anybody that they fought or better. And so I think it was people learned a lot from that card. Figueroa, real exciting fight. You know, he's always exciting, always fun to watch because he's going to get hit and he's going to hit somebody back. And they're going to fight like hell. And so it was fun to watch that fight, you know. And Jamel, of course, his fight, you know, it was weird. It was weird. You know, Jamel's fight was weird. He came out and he kind of clipped him a little bit. He kind of stepped off the ring a little bit. Rosario took that first knockdown. I was surprised. Moved to the fight. Rosario didn't look that bad to me. He looked pretty good. He was throwing some hard punches. And Jamel was boxing a little bit more than I was expecting. He was on his back foot a little bit more than I was expecting, which was good. It worked out perfect for him, you know. And he hit him with the body shot. He never saw it, I guess, and caught him right there, caught him breathing in, and that was it.
Absolutely.
I definitely agree with you. I want to ask you a couple questions following up on your comments from this last question. One, have you ever seen a stoppage like that as far as the Jermell fight against Rosario, as far as the way the reaction was from that body shot? Because that was something different that I've never seen personally. And the second one would be just following up as far as, you know, they say Rosario was in training for 16 weeks for this fight with the Jermell. And, you know, you're coming to that point to where you've been in camp a long time because of delays and all that stuff. So is that something you think about in the aftermath of that fight?
Well, okay, so the first question, no, I ain't never seen nothing like that. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen, his reaction. I've seen people stop with body shots. I've seen some really good jabs, you know, from Jamel, both of them in general got really sharp jabs. You know, they stab people with it, and they mean it when they say it. They really do. But I've never seen a reaction like that. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. He looked it almost worrisome whenever he first went down, you know, to say the least. And you know, a long camp takes a toll on a fighter, especially if you don't know how to pull back and then come back into camp hard and to take days off whenever you have to, whenever you're getting pushed off like that. Because if not, you're gonna overtrain and you're gonna go over. And it's always better to be under than over. And I think that's a big thing that you have to know how to do. And if you don't, that you're going to have to pay for it. And I feel like we've done pretty good with that. Well, I think we'll be in camp. My wife told me because she keeps track, you know, because I've been gone. She said, I'll be gone for a total of 15 weeks by the time I fight, you know. So it is a long camp. You're right about that. But when they first moved me back, I took off some too. I didn't just keep pushing through every day the exact same. And I took some time off, a few days. Nothing major. Just took off a few days, just enough to kind of slow my body down, just to change it up a little bit, just kind of mix things up. But I definitely that is something that we've thought about and that we have to stay on top of.
Okay. Do you mind talking some boxing with us?
Yeah, man. Let's talk.
Okay. All right. So some news came out today that Deontay Wilder and his longtime trainer is split. I'm going to give my opinion on it. You don't have to give yours, but like I don't know. Breland is he went to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And he was an excellent technical fighter. And none of that, not to diminish anything that Deontay Wilder has achieved, but it didn't seem to translate. So, and sometimes a fighter does need a change of scenery, so to speak. But I don't know, this far into his career, I don't know how much more he can change. But we'll see. As a fighter, what do you think about when a fighter and their trainer separate?
Well, there's two ways to look at it. For one, I don't know their kind of relationship. What kind of relationship they really had. I know they were together for a long time. Mark Breland, known as one of the best amateurs ever. He could fight. Dude could just fight. Huge IQ, excellent in every way, essentially, right? I think that he can't do anything more with Deontay Wilder anyways, personally, at this point. But also, I think that he might have got rid of the only person that was really looking out for him, more than just a trainer or more than just a paycheck. And but really, when it comes down to it, it don't matter what I think.
Yeah.
I don't really know like I said, their personal relationship with each other. I don't know the agreement they had with stopping fights and everything. Nobody wants a fight to be stopped. And I don't want nobody to ever stop my fights unless they really personally feel that that's the best thing for my life, for my career, not just for my career, but for my life. And, I want to fight. And but, it is what it is. He was he had no chance in that fight. I guess is the only reason I see even though he's got the big punch, he didn't have it anymore at that point. He didn't have the power still. He didn't have that big stick he was carrying around like it was the last fight. He was already done at that point, in my opinion. And so really wasn't a bad call. I think it probably saved his career. In fact.
I agree. I didn't understand a lot of the heat that I seen from Deontay Wilder fans towards Mark Breland for throwing in the towel when he did. The man was bleeding out of his ear.
It's not like he had a chance.
Yeah. That indicates, his eardrum is busted and his equilibrium's off and he has no balance and everything's off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So throwing in the towel, as you said, probably prolonged his career. Now, Twine, what do you think? Do you think that with this change of scenery coming before Fury and Wilder 3, how do you think that's going to affect Deontay's chances in the rematch? Because I thought Fury won the first fight. He obviously won the second fight. I got him in the third fight. So do you give him much of a chance now that he's actually changing trainers this late into the game? And they should be fighting sometime at least early 2021.
I have mixed feelings about it because I honestly felt like, they were having a fiction right after the fight to where they were going to get rid of Mark because of the stoppage and him throwing in the towel. It would have felt a little bit better if they just went ahead and did it then instead of now, especially going into probably the most important fight in his career. We don't know who he's going to bring in as a trainer. I don't necessarily have faith in JD as being his primary number one. I mean, I would trust Mark Breland a whole lot more considering his amateur experience, his pro experience. But, Deontay is loyal to a fault as far as JD is, in my opinion.
Wasn't he the one in the dressing room?
The timing doesn't feel right to me. Generally, this is something we used to talk about as far as me and your boy 2K. It generally takes, when you're with a new trainer, 3 to 4 fights to get, fully acclimated to a new trainer. And, him going to his biggest fight with bringing in somebody new in camp, it doesn't bode well, in my opinion, for Deontay right now. But, we've seen plenty of people try and render their service to him, even Floyd Mayweather, George Foreman. A lot of guys have wanted to come help him for this fight. So I don't know how it's really going to pan out, but just the timing of it seems all wrong. There was a news article released this week saying that the fight may actually be pushed up, as opposed to December because of all the college football stuff going on around that time. They're actually thinking about pushing the fight up to November. And possibly it could be extended to 2021. So, it's just a bad timing thing, in my opinion. I don't like it personally for Deontay. If he's going to bring somebody in, it needs to be the best person available because I don't trust JDS alone with him in this fight.
All right. Well, moving on. I'm sorry. Gabe Rosario and Danny Jacobs fight was announced, which is going to end a long-time feud over social media. Twine, what do you think of that fight, man?
It's a good stay busy fight for Jacobs. It's solid. Gabe hasn't been stopped like that. He's been busted up in fights, because of cuts and all that. But it's a good stay busy fight. But I don't think it does much for Daniel Jacobs as far as his move to 168 and putting him in a big position for fights against titleists or anything like that. Maybe he's just, slowly maneuvering his way through the new weight class and getting comfortable at 168. It could be that. So, I'm just looking at it like that personally. I'll watch the fight, but it's not something I'm extremely interested in considering, Gabe Rosado is world tested and, I won't consider him a flamethrower or a guardian to the division. We'll never give him that, but, he puts on a solid performance and he gives his guts in every fight. So, I respect the fight for that magnitude.
Absolutely. Karl, what do you think about that? Because it is a fight that had a little bit of history over social media where they've been going back and forth with each other for a little bit.
Yeah, that's about the only interesting part of it, in my opinion. I think that's about as deep as it goes. Rosado's been, he was a tough fighter. He's coming to fight. He's coming to win. But I don't think he can in either way. I think Jacobs is going to beat him pretty easy. And it's a good fight for Jacobs. It's a stay busy fight. Some people don't want to see it because of the social media beef. And, it's a way to make some money in this, pandemic. And so I think that it's good in a way for Jacobs. I think Rosado, it's kind of a bad fight for him like most of his fights have been. I think matchmaking wise, he should have came back with something different, but you get what you take, I guess.
Absolutely.
Karl, let me go ahead and throw in this question to Ryan real fast. So of course we have Jamal coming off his fight. You guys are both trained by Ronnie Shields, of course. Has your camp changed in any way now since Ronnie is able to focus on you more? He doesn't have that fight with Charlo covering him or, having to focus on that. Has your camp changed in any way recently in this past, week since the fight?
It hasn't changed for me, but I noticed in the gym we got a lot more fighters in there since the Jamal fight. And, I'm still going to be like Ronnie brings me in after everybody else. And, it didn't interfere with Jamal, him training Jamal. But I did notice early in the day that Ronnie has a lot more fighters early on. And so I think that's the biggest change is Ronnie was pushing some fights off and some fighters off until after he got done with it, just trying to stay focused on the big deal, and I completely understand.
We got a comment from somebody viewing them that they want to get one of those sweet hats, and I definitely want one. That's really quick, right?
Yeah, man, you got. I got some maroon, I got some black, and I think I got some gray ones. And
you have a social media site where they could purchase, or any way they could get some of your merchandise? Because I'm definitely feeling that hat.
Yeah, man. I'm on my Facebook page. You just send me a message on my fan page, Ryan Cowboy Karl, and I'll hook you up.
Awesome. Yeah, I like the maroon. That'll match my Sooner gear.
Oh man, come on now. Come on now.
Hey, we lost, bro.
We don't even mention that. We don't even mention that.
We lost. I mean, it is what it is.
You had
any Texas team, I'll let you do it. You know, I'll let you get away with it. But you know, you can't bring them into it.
Yeah, I give him a hard. I was giving him a hard time in his inbox until we lost, and I ain't I was talking trash. He was like, "Yeah, I guess because I was like, yo, I'm saying something." He said something. I replied like, "Yeah, oh, you like watching losers?" You know, talking about Texas, and well, they won at least. We lost week 1, so
yeah,
or week 2. You know, I mean, it is what it is. But
hey, loyal to a fault.
Absolutely. Twine, you want to lead us into our next topic?
Yeah. I guess one of the big things in news right now that came out recently is like these are actually training stablemates. Shakur Stevenson, you know, who just recently moved up to 130 after being a 126 pound champion. You know, Jamel Herring had plans of being in the ring against Karl Frampton. You know, that was going to be a big payday for him. And Shakur Stevenson steps in to throw a monkey wrench in the plan, so to say. You know, I'm here to get my mandatory shot, you know. And these are actually stablemates. You know, they both been in camp with Terrence Crawford. Jamel Herring trains with Bo McIntyre, you know, Terrence Crawford's trainer as well. Shakur Stevenson is in camp with them a lot of the time. How does that? What do you think about that as far as friendship and, you know, coming into actual fighting? Like, is that something you've had to experience before? Because I know you mentioned in a previous interview that, you know, you're actually friends with your opponent coming up in this next fight. You know, you guys came up together, both being from Texas. So how do you look into things like that?
Well, it's a little bit different because we're not stablemates. But in the end, boxing is business. And, you know, you can put your friendship aside. Me and Mario, I'm sure we'll be able to shake hands after the fight. But in the ring, I want to win any way possible. Simple as that for me. You know, this is what I've trained for. And I'm sure they'll feel the same way. It's a little bit different, you know, that they've trained more together. You know, it's got a little bit more meaning to it, I guess. But I understand at the same time, you got to get yours while you can. And, yeah, you know, you wait, you might get, you know, something might happen. You might miss the shot completely. And so I understand it in one way and another way. It's kind of, it's odd, you know. It's just odd. But, you know, I'm a big fan of Jamel. And I've known him for a long time, too, from the amateurs. And I hope nothing but the best for him.
Absolutely. I agree with Ryan. I find it a little strange. I mean, there's fights right now that aren't being made that could be made because the guys are stablemates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you don't hear of that often. So maybe Shakur Stevenson, having been with him and he's been with him for a while, he absolutely knows he can win the fight. And he's like, I'm going to take the fight and I'm going to, you know, I got to, as Ryan said, it is a business. You know, it's like when people got upset about Tio asking for more money, I had tweeted out, get as much money as you can while you can in this business, because if you don't believe it's a business, go talk to the promoters. So, you know, you got to get what you get, but it is strange. I've never really seen it. And, you know, it is strange.
Yeah, don't really like it, but it is what it is. Like you say, it is a business. And I've seen a lot of fighters that have sparred somebody a bunch, and they think they can beat them, and they'll take this fight.
Yeah.
You know, that this guy they sparred with, it's a stablemate, and for a little while, and so one of them leaves the gym and moves on to a different trainer or something, and they'll take the fight, thinking they're gonna beat him because they sparred him. Man, he wasn't that good. I know what he's got, but really, they fail to realize some fighters aren't half as good in sparring. and and performing, it's completely different. And so it could prove to be interesting.
Absolutely.
I've seen recent examples of that as well. In fights that have been aired, sparring translate a whole lot differently as far as being in the actual ring itself. So you definitely make a good point. I think it's like you said, like we all said, it's a weird situation. But I mean, Shakur is one of those guys that he's pushing for greatness. If you can't see it already, including his Olympic experience, what he's done at 126, being a young champion, and now trying to translate that into 130. It's definitely bold of him to make that move. I would actually like to see Jamel get a fight with Carl Frampton. Like, he deserves it after all he's been through in his career. So I would like to see him get that opportunity. But the organizational politics always play into that as well. So it's just Shakur, taking advantage of his moment.
Yeah, I would have. I don't want to say respect, I guess, but to use the word, if he would have waited until he fought Carl Frampton, because that's a payday. That's a payday, especially if they were to schedule that fight to fight over in England or in the UK somewhere. That's a big payday. So let him get that payday, and then if you could still do the same thing, you know what I mean? But hey, you got to get it when you can, I guess.
The situation is, look at Alexander Usyk. He moved up. He was the WBO champion at cruiserweight, and he's using that I guess their rule as far as being able to move up the division to where you become the mandatory challenger at heavyweight to get into a fight with I believe Anthony Joshua. So I mean, Shakur is just using that privilege. I mean, I would like him to take a step back as far as allowing Jamel to get this fight in with Frampton. And also, I mean, you got to look at it on the other side. If Jamel isn't necessarily successful and Frampton wins, Shakur is still mandatory for Frampton, and it's even more money for him over in the UK. If he makes that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it might be hard to get.
You said it might be harder to get, right?
Yeah, it might be harder to get. Once Frampton has it, if he does in fact beat Jamel, it might be harder for him to get that fight. They might take care of Frampton a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So
I get you. Because Frampton's team might have other ideas. Quick, Twine. The WBC has a similar rule, right?
The WBO is the only one I know that has that, to where you could drop the belt from your previous weight class and move up and be immediate mandatory. I've only seen it with the WBO.
Okay, because someone was suggesting that. I was suggesting that the other night for Charlo, if he really wanted. I was like, I don't remember if the WBC has that rule. I know the one of them, because there's so many alphabets. I was like, I know one of them does because I've seen it happen numerous times. Where I've questioned how did that guy become the number one contender? You know what I mean? Instantly, but just because he dropped his belt. But
I mean, we Crawford do two weight classes essentially. Moving up. WBO was the first thing he was able to stay claim to.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on to our next topic, which was there was some news come out about Sergio Martinez announcing his next fight. Which was nothing surprising, but what really got me, Ryan, was the fact that he was ranked number 6. After such a long layoff, and his fight back that wasn't impressive. It was by the WBA. How does that feel as a young fighter that you've went through the come up? So you know how it is to have to do the come up. To see a guy come out of all respect to what Sergio was. He's not that anymore, and I don't mean that any type of disrespectful way. But how the heck does he get ranked number 6 over some of these young guys that have been putting in work? How would that make you feel as a fighter if that happened in your weight division?
It's just about money. It almost makes you feel sick for a lot of those fighters because, like you said, they put in all that work, they put in all that time, and this guy comes in from nowhere. That's all time. He was great. I don't know about all time great, but he was great. Mm-hmm. And now he just comes in. He's older. He hasn't done anything. He's not really fighting anybody of any substance, and he's ranked top 10. It's like, what happened? Where did this come from? How can you do this to me? and it comes down to money. And so, just like everything else, money. When money's involved, anything can happen.
Ron, let me put you on the spot here, man. I mean, I hate to ask this question, but I just want the honest truth, man. What are your thoughts on? I mean, we got many organizations in boxing. What are your thoughts on the organizational politics in general, man? Like, how do you feel about it? Like, what are your thoughts as a fighter that's coming up through all this?
I don't agree with a lot of it, and most of it in general. I think I don't know about having all these different alphabets. For one, you got all these different belts, and it's just different ways for them to make money off of the fighters, and also for fighters to avoid other fighters in a way. And so, me personally, I don't really like it. Not that I really have a choice in it. It's kind of to the point now where you got to go with the roll. You got to roll with the flow. And to get to the top, to get to where you want to be, then hopefully somehow you can possibly change it or impact it somehow. But until you get there, you can't do anything because you're going to get blackballed for one. And boxing's not forgiving anyways. Nobody has to do anything for you. You got to, you're only as good as your last fight. You got to work hard and get to where you want to be. And hopefully you've got the right team with you that's going to help you. As in the rankings in the alphabet, the belts go.
Yeah, I feel you. So it's all important to have a quality team behind you. You can't just be a great boxer. You got to have that great team as well.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
Mm-hmm. All right, so there was some news earlier, I believe it was last week that this happened. Conor McGregor, the notorious one, tweets out that he's going to fight Manny Pacquiao. Now, me personally, I had been told several months ago that it was going to be Mikey Garcia. But then we kept hearing names float around, and then I heard it confirmed through another source. No, it's Mikey Garcia. But then Conor McGregor tweets this out. And then Mikey, I love what Mikey did. He did a nonchalant interview with Fight Hype, and he kind of gave it out as a riddle. He said, "Yeah, Conor McGregor's next fight is probably Manny Pacquiao, but Manny Pacquiao's next fight isn't Conor McGregor." And eventually she got him to say it's me. 100%, I'm fighting him. I love that fight. I love it for both of them. What do you think? Do you like that fight for Manny?
Yeah, I like a fight for Manny. I'm a big Mikey fan too, but I do like it for Manny. I just I don't see Mikey being able to win that fight. Not to say that he can't, because he's a great little fighter. Yeah. And Manny Pacquiao is a great fighter too. He's a greater in my opinion. He's older though.
Yeah.
And I think that he's adjusted to the weight better, and I think that's going to be the difference in both of them. But it's a good fight. It's going to be a fun fight either way. I love to watch Manny Pacquiao fight, period. I'm not real biased in fighters. I like to watch all of them. And he's just so talented. And especially at the age he's at, it's incredible. The speed he has and the footwork and the ability to do all these things. But I like the fight in general.
Absolutely. Now, what about because as Mikey said, he was positive that he's going to fight Conor McGregor too. After that, what do you think about that? If that's the last fight we see of Manny, and do you think he'll do better than what? For me personally, Floyd carried Conor until he wanted to knock him out, and I think that they might have laid some bets on that. You know what I mean? Not trying to get no one in trouble, but you know what I mean? I think they put some money on that. You carry him until this round, and we'll make a bunch of money. But I don't know that Manny will do that. I'm thinking Manny's going to beat the crap out of this guy, man. He may never want to get back in the boxing ring again.
Well, I think that Manny can if he was the old Manny. I don't think Manny has that meanness about him anymore.
Okay.
I think that Manny, back whenever he was knocking everybody out, he was a different fighter. Mentally, not just physically, but mentally, he was a different fighter. He wanted to knock people out. He wanted to hurt them. And now he's kind of like, it's okay. Freddie's like, please knock this man out, please. And he's like, nah, it's okay. And he's just content with winning. And I think it's going to be an exciting fight. I think you're going to get a lot of the same thing, a lot of the same people making the same bets, thinking that Conor McGregor's so much bigger, so much longer, that he's gonna beat Manny Pacquiao and he's gonna stop him, and he's so good, and I'm just gonna be betting those people, as much as I can. So I mean, I'm just gonna be trying to make as much money as I can where I can.
Hey, I'm in all the groups, so if I find a sucker, I'll send him your way. Just give me a little cut, and you know what I mean? I'll find hundreds of them.
I'm telling you, man, it's ridiculous the amount of people with the Floyd fight that really truly believed it,
Yeah.
And I got a lot of people that are close that really thought that, and I said, you got to be kidding, right? Don't bet any money because I kind of like you, and you're just being stupid right now because you don't understand. Just don't do it. And they really think that, and they always tell me, oh, he made it 10 rounds with him and he's so good. And I'm like, you just don't understand. It's all about money. And I don't know if it'll be Pacquiao's last fight or not.
Yeah.
But I understand him doing it. Why not? Make all that money? Who wouldn't? And
I think what I've read, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think what I've read was Manny plans to donate almost all of his purse to the poor people in the Philippines affected by COVID. So
that's right.
That guy's an amazing guy, bro.
You can't beat him. He's the most genuine person at this level that there's ever been, probably. And so,
absolutely. Try.
I guess I'll come in a little bit. I actually like the possibility as far as Mikey Garcia versus Pacquiao at this stage. Pacquiao doesn't present the same intangibles that Errol Spence had as far as length, height, and being just naturally bigger. Manny's probably a guy that could still fight at 140, honestly, just like Mikey. They're both short still. They're both smaller fighters as far as being 147 pounders. Manny, of course, has slowed down a little bit. I mean, for those that don't know, really pay attention to the Keith Thurman fight. He had to take some rounds off in that fight, and once Keith started pressing the action in the second half, it made it look a little bit different outside of the knockout and the body punch that, changed that whole dynamic of the fight. So, I think the fight with Mikey is actually good on paper at this stage in his career. It's definitely a very solid fight for Manny, and with even concrete his status even more. Consider Mikey still a highly talented guy and very big guy as far as a big name in this game right now. As far as I guess the MMA stuff, I want to get your opinion on this, Cowboy. How do you feel about the crossover fights between MMA and boxing? Like, do you think that's a good thing for combat sports in general, or like, what was your general thought as far as seeing these fights? Because we've seen Floyd against Conor, and we've seen even more things proposed now. Even with Canelo going against possible guys from the UFC.
Yeah, in all reality, competitiveness. I don't really see anybody beat anybody in the opposite sport of what they've trained their whole life to do. I don't see anybody from the UFC or the MMA coming over to boxing and fighting an all-time great or a great top fighter and expecting to actually win the fight. Of course they're going to because they have the kind of mentality, but I just don't see it happening with any of them. And vice versa. If there was a boxer that did it, I just don't see him, being able to succeed. And most likely not. I think a boxer would have a better chance in a fight like that because as long as they're fighting somebody that's trying to stand up, maybe. But in catching them, if you're, had somebody that could punch, but most likely anything goes south, you're in that guy. That's what he's trained for his whole life is, that's his thing. As far as good for the fighters, I think it's great because they're making money. I'm not gonna hate on anybody making money. Period. For the sport, I don't necessarily like it because it gets a lot of attention, and it's not that it just gets a lot of attention that I kind of think it's a joke, I guess. But it really does bring a lot of fans to it. So at the same time, I think it might be good for the sport in a way because it does bring a lot of people into it. It brings a lot of the crossover fans, but also brings a lot of hate, which is, in turn turns into money. And so it's just kind of how you look at it. I don't really for the sport. I don't know if it's necessarily good or bad for the fighters. It's nothing but good because they're making money. They're making a lot of money. And so that's kind of where I'm at on it.
I mean, there definitely needs to be this thing where MMA and boxing are constantly competing with each other now, even with as far as the pay-per-view sales and stuff like that. Like, the Charlo card went against Idriel Adesanya, and the Charlos actually made even more as far as what they topped out at as far as our earning revenue compared to Adesanya, and they did more pay-per-view buys than the UFC. Sell. So I mean, it's weird seeing this competition between the two because the dynamics are still totally different as far as the pay scales. I feel like boxers are still have the upper hand as far as the combat sports, even in the States. Like the Charlo card wasn't predicted to do. I mean, I guess they did between 100 and 120K buys from what I'm seeing. I've seen some sources say it's been over 200K trending. And you have the UFC over here that did apparently 700,000 buys for their most recent thing, and there are 2 fighters alone between both of the Charlo twins matched out, compared to the main event fighters in UFC. So I mean, it's a weird dynamic to see how this thing goes as far as the business side on both spectrums.
It is because the UFC, as you stated, they get more buys, right? Well, than this past card, but the fighters on this card, they got paid more. Which leads me to a question. I had this thought, and I posted on my Facebook not too long ago, and I was asking about when Floyd Mayweather's supposed to fight Paul. Was it Jake Paul or is it the other Paul? One of the Paul brothers. And I had some couple professional fighters on there, and we were talking, and I asked them, does this kind of stuff bother you? You know what I mean? And their answer was no, because Paul has his own fans, and it's actually kind of good for boxing. And James Dominguez was on there, and he said that he had some nieces that before the last Paul fight, and I think that Ryan Garcia, was he on that card? Or it was like he in the crowd. Anyway, his nieces started following Ryan Garcia on social media over this. But my thing was, okay, I can understand Floyd fighting Paul. But Ryan Garcia pulled up on the younger Jake brother with the contract and was like, let's go, let's fight. They had this argument over social media. And for me, Ryan's a guy that has a lot to prove, man. You got so much for you to prove to me. Like, I want to know, are you the guy that deserves a title shot? You know what I mean? And yet you're pulling up on this YouTube guy with a contract. No, pull up on Fortuna with a contract. That's, you know what I mean? Pull up on Javier, you know what I mean? Like, what do you think about celebrities, fighting? I guess it's okay, Floyd, as you say, you don't want to hate on anybody for getting their money. But what do you think about that type of event?
I think it's kind of a joke that way. And just because it's like everybody wants to make money, right? But Ryan Garcia, instead of him wanting to actually prove himself and have to fight these tough fights and get there the hard way, let's just skip over that and fight this celebrity. Just become a superstar, just get all these other people to follow me, and the money will come. And where I think that he should at least try to, win his world titles and unify his divisions or fight these tough fighters and think about stuff like that. I mean, you got Floyd. Floyd wasn't doing none of that kind of stuff. Of course, back then, maybe he didn't think about it. I don't know. Floyd's a genius.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's I think it's smart in a way for him if he can get them to do it. For him, it's smart.
Yeah.
I think that he has a lot left to prove. I don't think that he's proven half enough to be able to do that. But if he can do it, I mean, he's gonna make a lot of money. You know what I mean? It'll kind of be a joke to me, but it'll be getting paid. So he'll be the one laughing. So.
Let me get your opinion on something, man. So you're in the super lightweight division. It's not necessarily a division that's in transition. You have 2 unified champs as far as what Josh Taylor and what's his name? I can't think of his Jose Ramirez right now. You're fighting for what a regular belt, correct? Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think the state of the 140 class is right now? And what are your plans as far as the future? Is 140 where you see yourself at permanently, or do you have plans to possibly transition to what has been probably one of the more traditional recognized weight classes in boxing as far as 147 in the future?
Well, I'm sure I'll probably end up there eventually, just depending on how things go. I think the 140 is a pretty tough division right now. You look at guys like Regis Prograis. He's fighting Geraldes. Geraldes can fight. He's a really good boxer. You got Hooker moved up to 47, but you got Josh Taylor who can really fight. The dude can fight, and then you got Ramirez. He can fight too. As far as them fighting each other, I think Josh Taylor's probably gonna. I think Josh Taylor bests him right now. And I think that Ramirez is probably gonna move up here pretty quick. I know that they've been kind of talking about that a little bit. I think he does, in fact, move up to 47 before any of the others. I wouldn't mind moving up to 47, the right kind of fights and everything. I think right now I'd be a small 47. I don't know, maybe a decent. I'm a big 40. I'm a big 40, and I'm not as big as some of the guys, but I consider myself a big 40. And so I think I would fit in okay with 47, but time will tell. It just kind of depends on where everything goes. I want to win this belt, then I want to fight for the other belts. I don't want to just kind of hang around and fight a bunch of nobodies or fight a bunch of people for a smaller belt. I want to win this belt and use it as a stepping stone to fight, Josh Taylor or Ramirez. Those are the two guys that I would like to fight. And I know there's talk of me or Mario, the winner of this fight, fighting Batir Akhmadov. For Mario, that'd be a rematch. For me, it'd be a first. And I like to fight. I like to fight with Akhmadov. And it's not anything we're worried about. And but right now, really for us, I'm not scared. I'm not scared of making 140. It doesn't affect me any. And until money comes into play, then my mind will start moving. Of course. And I can make 47. I'm big enough. I can't make 35. So no matter how much money came in on that one, I couldn't do it. But I could, 40 and 47. I could do either one of them. But
you actually make a good point. If you look at the titleists at 140, they're bigger than the 147-pound champion. Like, you're 5'10", Ramirez is 5'10", Josh Taylor is 5'10". Errol Spence and Bud are probably like 5'8", 5'9", both. So I mean, it's one of those weird things. Like the 140-pounders seem like they're actually bigger than the 147s right now, as far as height wise and length wise.
Yeah, as far as height goes, most of us are bigger. In general, Mario. I'm fighting Mario. He's probably 6 foot tall, and so you got a big change there. But when it comes down to it, you got guys like Sean Porter, who's 5'7". I don't know. He's a pretty 5'7", 5'8". He's a pretty short guy, but he's pretty stocky too.
Yeah, he's like a tank.
Different. He's built completely different. You look at Manny Pacquiao. He's not a big guy at all. And Errol Spence is about 5'9". He's a little bit shorter than me, I believe, but he's a lot heavier. And I could be too. I could be too. I could make that transition to fight the 47. But a lot of it just comes with time and maturity and everything with everybody's body. And I know for me, I was pretty late and everything as far as maturing and putting muscle on. And so I'll be fine to go anytime. I'll make 40 as long as.
I had a question from one of our watchers tonight who asked, "Who would you want to fight at 147? Like, what would be your dream matchup or your ideal matchup at 147 right now or in the immediate future if you were to make that jump?"
Well, of course, Manny Pacquiao, because he's a legend. I mean, he's just a legend. I mean, who wouldn't want to fight Manny Pacquiao? And say they fought Manny Pacquiao, fight one of the greatest of all time. And anybody that, in my opinion, he's definitely the number one guy that you would want to fight. Errol Spence is also from Texas. He can fight. I'm not scared to fight anybody. Terrence Crawford, any of these guys. Sean Porter would probably, in general, be one of the toughest guys to fight. Out of any of them, probably stylistically, for anybody. He's a hard fight for anybody, in my opinion.
Yeah, he just keeps coming.
He's all over you.
Yeah.
He's all over you, and he's strong. He's compact. He'd be hard to fight for anybody. And so I mean, 47. Any of those guys, Mikey Garcia is 47. I think permanently now for a while, anyways. And I'd like to fight that fight. Mikey's a great fighter, and I would just like to fight anybody that's great. I don't have anybody in particular that I would say that really jumps out at me. As far as those guys besides Manny Pacquiao, and that's mainly just because he's a legend. And I would love to have a fight with Manny Pacquiao, of course. I mean, I think everybody would.
Yeah, amen. That's payday too.
Oh, of course. Big money. Big money.
Well, I would love to talk boxing with y'all all night, but I got a college football podcast I got to shoot at 10 o'clock, so I gotta cut it off here. But Ryan, man,
you talking about those bum ass Sooners again?
Hey, you want to see something? You want to see how I feel about last week's performance? Check out the first opening intro to the show. You'll see how I feel about that. All right, it was embarrassing to lose to Kansas State. We were up 35 to 14 at one point, and we lost. And so we got a lot of work to do. We're young. Right? We're young. But Ryan, I want to thank you again, man, for coming on. Hopefully, once again, you're fighting on October 31st, correct?
Halloween, man. Halloween.
Absolutely. All right. So we're gonna be rooting for you, man. Bring home the strap. Hopefully, after you have it, we'll have you back on and we can see it, around them shoulders. Twine, you want to say anything to Ryan before we go, bro?
Man, definitely want to wish you the best of luck, man. Halloween, man, just spook them. That's all I can say. Spook them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, and make sure everybody watches FS1 tomorrow night. My homeboy, Mark Maxio, is fighting on there in the main event. There's an undefeated prospect that works with Greg Hackett, who's been on the show. Paul Kroll. He's fighting on that card. So make sure to check out that FS1 card tonight, man, because there's some people on there that's helped support us. So let's support them. And Ryan, once again, thank you, brother, man. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
I appreciate it, guys.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you. All right, man.